Good afternoon. Today we are at Bookmark Tutoring, and there we are, Bookmark Tutoring. And we're with Mrs. Goose here on the right, and we're going to be looking at what Mrs. Goose has been doing with Visual Basic Studio. Let me put on the icon there. Okay, so Mrs. Goose says create a Hello World app. Okay, so this is an actual example at Microsoft uses, and this is the example we're going to be going through. Um, we got everything running, but there is always some issues that we're still trying to resolve to make this thing a little bit more easy. But first, if we look through this thing, that's quite a bit to scroll through. There's only a few commands on this thing, though, so it's not that difficult. I tried it a couple times, and it works. So the first part it says is create a new project. Okay, so I'm going to do that. All right, and we're going to use Visual C++ and use the store apps. Okay, then it says in the instructions, it doesn't say exactly blank app, but it says something like Web Store app. I guess it's a different version. And we're going to give it a new name, and we're going to call it Goose 5. Okay, notice it puts down here in the solution box and the name box, and so that's the name of our project. And this thing always gets in the way. And alright, so now we hit the OK button. Okay, we're done. You might notice that our help thing is we can get to the help box anytime we want. We got them. Damn. Okay, so I gotta get rid of that somehow. But at any rate, we can do that, and we go to the help section and get that, and technical support will bring in the center page for that. But that's one thing you have to remember. Alright, so okay, we got that. Okay, and what comes up first is the XAML page. All right, but Miss Goose doesn't want to talk about that much, and we're going to go down here. That's what we just did. We selected those things. Notice it doesn't say that blank app XAML Windows Store. It doesn't have this same thing here. But at any rate, so keep going down here. Okay, we did that. We entered Goose 5. Okay, replace the main page. Okay, now that's what it's telling you to do here. And it wants us to create a basic page to replace it with. Everyone just remember that. So that's the main page, and we right click, and we delete it. Ask us if it wants to delete it. Alright. Okay, now we got to create a new page, and we want to call it main page again. Okay, so we have to go to project. That's what it tells us here. Add new item. And it says basic page. And here, don't forget to put this in, because the program, according to this, will not work unless we do this. And this box comes up and says it has to make some files, and it tells you about that in there too. So the instructions. Okay, it's loading Designer up. And what do we got here? Should take a few seconds. It says we continue working while the Designer is loading. Alright, so that comes up. Okay, so let's look back at the instructions. And alright, click add. Okay, now we can build solutions. Let's just keep that there. It makes us build solution. Okay, under build. And right down there, it tells us that we were successful. We successfully built the solutions. Alright, so let's look at the instructions again. It's amazing how much stuff you have to go through to. Okay. And so basically it says we're all done, and now we can run this simple application. Okay, so let's do that. And it says press Alt 5, but I believe this also works. Start without debugging. And there it is. It does work. We always have a problem with that. Let's run it again. It seemed to disappear. Debug. Start debugging without debugger. Alright, so at Goose 5 Windows, you see it says that up there, and so that's all it does. And we can close it up there. Okay. Alright, now there's still another part. Let me save things to Goose 5. Okay, so let's look at the instructions again. Notice. God. I'll have to figure that out, why it keeps on. I think I'm hitting some wrong button or something. Okay. Modify your start page. Okay, so yeah, it wants us to modify that start page. Okay, so what it wants us to do is well, it's hard to even find in there once you do it. Well, it tells you to click on that thing, and sorry about that. Okay, so once to click on this. Okay, so now we can change this text here using one of these boxes. And it says here you hit the edit resource. Okay. And it says Miss Goose is happy about the video studio demo. She's our CEO, so she gets happy when anything goes right. Okay, so that would change it right there. All right, so now we can go debug this again and see how it works now. And it's building up, the build started. And Mrs. Goose is happy about the video studio demo. Sorry, Miss Goose. Okay, so we got that. All right, so let's look at the instructions again. Bring them up, hit that. Oops. This is really getting to me. I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. But all right, so now it wants us to add in some code to modify the start page. Okay, we're going in there. All right, so that's where it is. I want to put this little input box in that doesn't do anything. And this is the code she wants. Okay, or the page wants, not Miss Goose. Okay, so what we got to do is go back to main page XML. Okay, and look in the XAML editor, which that's what it calls it. And I believe right there should work pretty well. And this, where you put it, affects the placement. And there we go, it's right there. Okay, so all right, so let's debug it again and start bugging without debugger. Is happy about the video, and it says say hello there, Miss Goose. I don't think this Goose box says hello, but say hello. Okay, but at any rate, it didn't do anything. I imagine they don't have any functionality in that box. All right, so let's save this, and I don't know if we want to do that. Cancel. Okay, file. Save. Save all. Okay, so we got that. And so it looks like it's about running. The other things on this thing you want to note with Visual Studio, it takes a long time to download. It's fairly easy download, but it also, let me get my text box here to emphasize the point, takes kind of long. That could depend on your connection. And you will need a Microsoft account. A Hotmail account usually works. And the problem we're having that we had to resolve, besides others, problem is can't find the start button. The Visual Studio start button. I've looked everywhere for it. Um, you can run, I looked on the visual, on the search engine, all that sort of stuff. So what I did to fix it in the meantime, so what I did, or Mrs. Goose told me to do, Miss Goose told me, um, after you download it, um, launch it, okay, launch it, then make a new project and save it. You can find the new projects. You can find the new projects and use those to launch. I know there's a way to do this. Use those to launch. Okay, so I'm gonna save that file. Okay, for a Goose file here. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what's the problem here. So I'm gonna close solution. Okay, there's our that, and I'm gonna put this all away. There's Mrs. Goose again. See you later, Miss Goose. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna look. Okay, projects. Okay, we're gonna keep going down here. Okay, here's our Visual Studio projects. Here's our Goose 5 project. And Hello World project. Let's look at Goose 5 again. And I believe if we just click on this, we'll open up Miss Goose again. Miss Goose is a little bit upset. She says, she just called me and she said she wanted to be in the video. And she says next thing you're going to have to insert her into the video for the rest of the Visual Studio thing. So we have to learn how to use insert images and other elements of the toolbox. And see, it's preparing a solution now. And so the Miss Goose solution should come up. This loading designer. It's got the XAML page. And see what we're doing to do new projects, we just open up this file for the temporary and hit new project. And that will give us a new project. But we won't do that for now. Okay, so it does still work. We're going to exit that. Miss Goose is happy. And I'm going to show you this last thing. If you guys have these newer interfaces, this is Windows 8-1. And you have to deal with this thing on there. And it's very touchy. I'm going to go over here, hit the search box. I didn't get this computer too long ago. Okay, so I'm going to look for Visual Studio. And make it a little bit harder. And I find Visual Studio 2013, I got this shortcuts, but this is not a shortcut thing. Visual Studio is this special app that I downloaded in my desperation trying to find for the box. But, yeah, well, we can also find, I also created this start thing, start visual, so I can launch from here, but I don't know. I've seen it written. Some people have complained about this. I think this is a program that and we have new apps. Okay, so we can get it from there. This is my other start program, and it's preparing the solution. You soon get familiar with this, so it kind of seems like an old friend. And so it's preparing the solution just like it is, and that was one of our other attempts. But then at any rate, we're exiting out, and we're just about done. So Mrs. Goose says goodbye, and I say goodbye.